Hello, everybody. Welcome to Counselor's Couch 101. I'm Jim Stump, which you probably know. I want to thank you for your comments and your emails, especially Cheryl and Jim and others. I really appreciate it. We'll be in touch soon. Again, want to remind folks my work week is extremely busy. I work long hours, I work late, and I have a lot of paperwork to do when the day is done. At that point, I'm pretty brain dead, so I often don't get to the comments on these posts until later on the weekend, and I record all these posts on the weekend when I have time to do them, and then I put them up one at a time through the week. So I'm a little bit lagging behind on all these things, and I appreciate your patience. But please keep them coming because they let me know what's on your mind and what we can discuss that'll be of interest to you. Speaking of which, I recently posted on holiday blues, right? Almost feel like I should call this Holiday Blues 2.1. The most important thing to remember, folks, is loneliness can be a killer. It can absolutely destroy people. It can put them into a state of non-compos mentos, all sorts of mental diseases and disorder and hallucinations and everything else because we weren't meant to be alone. Human beings are social animals. We are meant to be with other people. Whether we are close to them or not, we are meant to have them around. And so when folks get depressed, I often say, why don't you just take a walk in the park, right? Reason I say that is because for folks who are kind of like isolated into themselves and don't really want to interact with other people, taking a walk in a park doesn't require anyone to engage. You don't have to socialize, you don't have to make small talk, but you can be around people, especially like the noise that children make when they play games, baseball, basketball, soccer, whatever they're doing. It's a healing sound. I like to hear the kids playing in the neighborhood. Don't hear as much of it as we used to when we were kids. Which, by the way, when I was a kid, we used to have at least 12, 14 kids around the two-sided block, going which way all the way down to the end. And we would play games outside in the street all summer long. We used to play, you know, 3 feet in the gutter. If you don't know what 3 feet in the gutter is, send me a text or an email and I'll explain it to you. But it's a game when we're jumping across the street and they're trying to get tagged by someone else. Great game. We played for hours and hours and hours. But the point is, when we have the holiday blues or any time of the year when we're lonely, the idea is to get out and be around other people. Sometimes I've heard it said, and I imagine you've heard it too, is that the only person who speaks to a guy is the waitress. You know, it's like there's no other communication, no other contact. And that brief moment, that brief exchange is worth its weight in plutonium. It really is. It's a very valuable thing because when we have that connection, we know we're alive. Someone sees us, someone recognizes us, right? But I had an experience like that years ago, long before COVID, though. I found myself in a situation, holidays were coming up, it was heading towards Thanksgiving, and I didn't have any family around at that time, and there was nothing going on. I didn't have any place to go or anything to do. So I got this idea, and I stood up in a small church meeting. I know people say to me, I don't like church, I don't like religion, Jim. I say, that's fine. That's not my point. I'm not pushing religion, and I don't push politics either. I'm just saying that I stood up in a very small church meeting, and I announced to everybody, I said, hi, everybody. If you don't have any place to go on Thanksgiving, you can come by my place. We'll put the games on the television set, and if you want to eat something, bring it and we'll just hang out together and we'll be spend some time together. It's better than being alone. That first year, I had 8 people show up. We had more food than we'd ever know what to eat or do with. I had to pack it up and send it home with folks because there's just so much food. We had a great time. People just sort of figured out how to take care of themselves. They had conversations going. They had various games going. So one guy was telling fortunes and like that. So they had that going in one corner. Another group was playing a kind of a card game, a strange card game, and they were laughing their heads off. And then we played a game later on in the evening after the football was over. A group game. I don't remember what it was, but everybody was trying to tell what the other person had whispered in their ear and all this. Now, mind you, these were adults, right? I'm not talking about children. These were adults with no place to go, nobody to be with. It was Thanksgiving, and I didn't want to be alone myself. I knew how that felt. They all showed up. We had a great time. I made the same offer on Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, New Year's Eve, and New Year's Day. I had a lot of gatherings for many years, right? That thing grew to the point where I could only take a certain number of people in the house because there were too many who wanted to come. Just a suggestion. You don't need 8 people. You don't need 20. But a couple. If a couple came by and said, hey, yeah, let's hang out. Let's have coffee or maybe a beer and watch a game. Something like that is much better than being alone. Doesn't really cost much if you have a place. And if you don't, figure out a place you could go. You could even go to the park and hang out. It's not a question of spending money or coming up and making everything difficult. It's just a question of making an offer to spend time with someone else. And here's just sort of a side note or a caveat, is that you might get people that want to come or people that you don't particularly know well or wanted to get to know well. Spend some time with them. You don't have to become best friends. You don't have to accept their phone calls 24/7 or anything like that. But if you get to know them a little bit better, maybe you'll have some way you can touch their lives and improve theirs. And I'm sure that they can improve yours just by communicating and connecting with you. That's the way it works with people. You never know. You might just find a good friend or someone that you hadn't spent any time with or talked to. Or maybe you find someone that you know you can help. And that would be a blessing right there and then. When we give of ourselves, when we do things for other people, we feel good. And if we're not doing anything at all and we're not helping anybody else, we don't feel all that wonderful about what we're doing in life. Which is another point. I say this to people often. I say most of what people do, myself included, they're not really great things. You know, I haven't cured cancer and I haven't stopped the war in Ukraine. I haven't done anything big like that. What happens with human beings takes place on a more personal, smaller level, person to person, human being to human being, a heart connecting with another heart, someone saying, yeah, I heard you. I know how that feels. That kind of stuff goes a long way. They talk about ripples in a pond. How about tsunamis in an ocean? You can do it. Just connect with folks. That's the whole point. We need to put a lot of that back in. We've lost it in our culture. We really have. Families are smaller. We know that. Politicians are trying to bring in more people because Americans aren't producing babies like they once did, right? That's what they complain about. We need people to do the work and to pay the taxes, apparently. But I'm not here to argue about politics. I'm here to remind you that we need people. Go ahead and connect with them. It doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to rule your life or even ruin it. All you have to do is reach out and say, hey, you got nothing to do on Thanksgiving? Let's go out to the park and drink some coffee and enjoy the sunshine. It works wonders. It really does. Thanks for stopping by. I look forward to talking with you next time.